Hi, I'm Paul Nuhn. I'm an Extension Master Gardener for the Master Gardeners of Northern Virginia. Today we are at the Glen Carlin Library Community Garden, and I will show you a little lesson on how to prune woody shrubs and roses and trees as well. Okay, so for this particular button bush, we are going to remove some water canes to get a better idea of what the actual shape of it looks like, and then selectively pick a few of the bigger branches that are kind of overgrown and remove some of them or cut some of them back, and that way we'll get a better shaped bush that will bloom heavier later in the spring. Watch this. Here's a water cane. I'm going to go all the way down to the origin, which is way down here, and cut it right through with good clippers. There's one. There's another one right here. There's two. And here's another big one right here. Always be careful where you put your face so you do not get poked in the eye. And there's your third one. And I have since found another one while I was down here, and I'm going to get rid of that one as well. There you go. Now we've already opened this up a little bit. We can see the shape that it's going to be taking when it leaves out in another month. But I'm going to take a little bit more off of this in order to thin it out somewhat so we have better air circulation. In the mid-Atlantic states, humidity is a big issue, and you always need a constant flow of air so the humidity doesn't stick in one spot. Okay, so now I've trimmed out a lot of the extra wood that had grown over the last year or so and opened up the shrub on the interior as well as on top and lowered the total volume down somewhat so it fits within the confines of this space. You notice that I did not just hedge them off in a box or a circle. I selectively went in and removed entire branches and entire canes. I can continue with this little spot right here, and that would be the end of it. Now you can have a total wraparound area. It's going to look really nice in another month or so. And that's how you do deciduous shrubs. You do these when they're dormant in the early spring. Now we're going to look at rose bushes. Rose bushes, please use gloves. Rose bushes can be a very easy thing to do if properly done, and a very nasty thing to your fingers if done incorrectly. So please wear gloves. The idea here, again, is we're going to take the volume down about 2 feet, and we're going to then see what it looks like, and then we're going to take out any opposing canes that are crisscrossing each other or growing in the wrong direction so that the final result is sort of a vase type shape. Let me do that first, and then we'll get right back to what's finished. So now we've cut down the volume, and we've eliminated a lot of dead canes. We've eliminated a lot of winter damaged canes, but we have a basic shape. You can see that I can put my hand in here, but we still have a lot of canes that we have to address and look at and remove to make it safe. So let me start right here. Here we have a number of canes going up against each other. If you can look carefully at this, look how this is jumbled up against each other right there. That's not going to work. We need to remove that. And here's some damaged right here. So we're going to go all the way back to this eye right here, and we're going to cut it. There you go. As we move around, you'll find others, such as this one here, which is also interfering. So we're going to remove this one as well. But I'm not satisfied with that. So I'm actually going to go all the way down to here and remove it completely. Like that. As we move into here, you see, again, it's happening in a couple places, and you'll see that it's happening up here as well. So I have to make a decision as to what part to remove and what part to keep. Now this is a sidewalk here, so you do not want canes growing up into the sidewalk. So I'm going to cut it way back here, like that. And I'm going to do the same right here. Now we've moved into this area, remove this cross cane. Now we're going to move up here. We're going to move this whole section out, like that. Lower down to one of these eyes right here, here, or here, here. I'm going to go all the way down to here, or all the way down to this one here. See how I'm lowering this whole structure down to accommodate new growth. As I move around, this cane is growing into this. We do not want that. So I'm going to remove it. See how open it is now. You can see from last year and the year before cuts are very similar to where we are now. And that's what I'm looking for. As we move over, we do some more. Remove this cane. Remove that. Remove any canes that might interfere with each other. Remove that. And as we move around, here we have the same situation. So I'm going to make a decision as to which part I want to keep, which one of these I'd like to keep. I think I'm going to remove this lower one so that we have a better position for the others. And as we move around, here's another cross cane. Remove that one that's going inwards. You never want to have the canes growing on the inward side. You always want them to have to grow out. Remove that. And we move around further. You notice that we have a couple things in here that I'm going to take out. Take that one out. And here I'm going to go all the way down. Remove that. And again, we have a walkway, so you don't want canes to grow up into the walkway. So I'm going to cut way back here down to here. There's a little eye. You can't really see it, but it's there. Now we have the last big piece. We have to decide what you want to keep and what you don't want to keep. You don't want the canes so close together. You don't want them growing into each other. So the ones growing into each other, you move out. One. These little ones. Decide how you want to look at this. This is not a good idea, so I'm going to leave this out. And I'm going to remove one of these off. And as we move in, this is our last bit right here. Let's take out a couple of these just for the enhancement and the way it looks. Now we've finished. It looks 100% better if quite small. Now we can go through and fine tune it a little bit, but I want to see how the growth is before I do any fine tuning. So we'll wait another month before we do any light trim on anything that I may have missed. And that's how you prune a rose. For our final demonstration, we're going to prune just a few branches off this magnolia. Now again, since it's a deciduous magnolia, it's a good time to do it now. If it was a southern magnolia, you could probably do it at any time because it replaces its growth and flower anyway. But this is just to show you a technique that we do. Now we've got two different kinds of pruners here. Two saws. One's easy, folds up, and the other one's a little bit larger, folds up. This is for very big branches. We don't need to use that today, so we'll put that aside. This is a very great tool to have if you do any small pruning. So what we're going to do is, I'm not that tall and the magnolia is now hitting me in the head. So because we are in a public place, I don't want branches where anybody might bang their head accidentally. So we're going to take this branch off. The way to do it is here. It's a 3-point cut. If you cut this without properly preparing it, it could strip the bark here. So the first cut you make will be like this. And it's enough to break the bark and go into the wood, just enough. As you can see how deep that is? Then the second one will be up here, and that will take the bulk of the weight of the branch off. And I'm just gonna go straight down. And it's down. Now we have just this little bit here, and we do the final cut, which is right up against the collar, which is where you see all the bark collecting together to form. And that's where the heel is going to be. And I'm just going to cut it right straight down. And there you go. The perfect cut. It's not going to hit anybody. I could do the same for this one right up here. And I'm going to do that right now. Underneath, to cut it off so it doesn't strip. Cut that down. And now the final. And there you go. And it's done. That's how you do it. Now if the branch is much larger, it's the same principle. And actually the bigger the branch, the more you definitely have to do that first cut underneath. Because if you don't, it will strip the bark off and you'll end up having to take even further down. And if you don't, you'll invite insects and disease. So that's a very important part. Yeah, and that's it. Thank you.